Alright, you guys, if you're going to be working on RCs, I don't recommend you using your the cheapest set of Allen wrenches you can find, because what's going to happen is you're going to strip these screws. You're going to strip the Allen head and you're going to strip the screws. So what I recommend is they don't have to be this exact set. They don't have to be this exact set. But I would make sure that I was using some kind of hardened metal tools when I'm working on these. So what we're going to do is, you can see I still have the 19 tooth pinion. I really haven't touched it since the last video. So what I'm going to go in now, we're going to go back to the factory 15 tooth pinion. I'm going to take this, okay, to remove this, there's a lot of videos, but you're going to unplug the motor wires. Alright, you're going to remove these, and these. Alright, then you can just pop this out, and then we'll be able to go in there and pop that diff out. Alright, after you've popped it loose from the top, alright, these are the holes that you would use to remove the diff mounts. So if you want to remove the whole entire assembly, this is how you would do it, is these 4 screws. Actually, these 6 screws, and there's a little notch that they pop in, so you know that they go back straight. Alright, and while I'm at it, I'll show you. I'm pretty sure you know, but these are the screws for the motor. Alright, if you want to put a bigger or smaller pinion, this is what you need to adjust, so you can make that new pinion fit with the spur that's currently there. Alright, and just so you guys know, this is the 2mm. That's what size these are. Alright, you can see it's a little tight still, so we're going to remove this and these two so we can take this whole plate and get this out easier, because we don't want to stress this out and break anything. Alright, you can see when we pop those screws out, this just comes right up. Be a little snug from the little. That pops right out. Alright. So now we're going to have to remove those screws in the bottom I showed you, so we can go ahead and pull this diff on out. Alright, you can see here we have removed the screws for the diff mounts. Those 6 screws right there, the 2mm head. Alright, now our diff just slides right out. Just slides right out as an assembly. Alright, now this we can set to the side. This is what we're going to be working on today. Alright, we are going to go back later because we want to do something with these. But right now, this is all we have. Alright. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull these screws out of the spur gear, which are also 2mm screws. And what that's going to do is let us separate this differential. What we want to do is take these and tighten it up, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Alright, so when you get to here, this one little gear is tricky to get out. This little trick I learned, you just take your needle nose and grip it on each side. So I'm using the wide parts of the case. You just slip it in there, you can pop it right out. Alright, then we pop this pin out. Alright, and then that gear comes right out. But really, we don't need to pull this out. This is where our spacers come in. We're going to set the spacers right here so we can push that diff out, keep it pushed out. Alright, so I got this differential ripped apart. And what I noticed is the gears really don't look that bad. So the major problem is definitely the looseness. It's slipping, but luckily it didn't slip and strip our gears. So we just need to figure out a way to go in and make this tight. Okay, so the problem now, the shims that I ordered from Redcat do not fit the shaft. Alright, so this is the shims that came from Redcat in the pack. These are some washers that you can buy from Lowe's. Okay, so it's going to be hard for me to hold this camera and show you guys. So what I did was just show you a blow up of the process. We're going to put this in here. We're going to put these next till we get it about where we want it. We're going to use this factory one that came off of here to finalize it. Then we're going to put our pin back, then our gear. And what that's going to do is the space these create between the casing is going to push this gear tighter against these gears against this gear. So we're going to tighten up the whole center differential like this. And even if these were correct, there will only be like $4. But these at Lowe's, they're probably even cheaper, like $2 if this works. Alright, so I got most of the way through the process here. And I started realizing something. Okay, so these shims are too small to fit on the shaft that goes for the drive shaft. But what I noticed is, can't see it really clear here. There it is. But there's small shims on the end of these gears. On all 4 of these small gears, these small spider gears, they're shims. So what I noticed is, these are the washers from Lowe's. And that still might work, but if we use these shims to go between the wall of the case and the gears, what we're going to do is we're going to push this gear away from this wall, and it's going to tighten it up because this gets taller and taller. So both of these gears get taller the closer you get to the middle. So the more you shim these gears on it, the tighter it's going to get to those gears. So what I'm thinking is, they give us 20 of these. You could fit up to 5 on each one of these to tighten it up as far as you want it to. Okay, so here's what I did. I added 1 washer to each of these. So there's a total of 2, which is the factory one that came, and 1 extra one. Alright, the one that was in the very back here, I removed it, so there's only the factory one in the back, because it's a lot easier to just remove this front piece and add shims behind there if you needed to. So what I did is I got the factory shim here plus 1 of my Lowe's washers, and then I have 1 extra each around all of these. The back is still factory. Alright, I think that was a little bit too much. Once I got my screws in, she's too tight. It'll turn if you force it, but it's almost diff lock. I'm gonna pull it back apart. I'm going to pull the one washer that I put behind here, and then I'm going to leave the other 4 washers and see how that goes. Alright, you can see the one washer here I've got. This the larger washer I had from Lowe's. I'm just going to pop it on out. Alright, so this is what I realized, you guys. I found something out. This case is from my center differential. This is the housing, okay? You can see that the part where the shaft comes through, it's wallowed out a little bit. Alright, this is from my old rear differential. Alright, what I noticed is go around the edge real easy with a small flathead, and what you want to do is you get under and you twist the knife and you work your way around and you twist the knife, the blade. Alright, you ease this off. You don't want to damage it. We might need it later. Alright, so this housing is the exact same, and you can see this one, it's not damaged. Okay, and just to prove my point, this bearing will fit right onto the other case. So this means these differentials are actually interchangeable. This is the exact same differential. This is the new one. Alright, you can see where the bearing sits on this case and where the bearing sits on the front of the case. Alright, you can see on the front of this case here, it's got the space for this bearing to actually sit. So you could actually buy a rear or front differential, because they're actually cheaper from what I've been seeing, and you can just remove this gear and remove the bearings, and you can place this spur gear. It will bolt right up, and vice versa, you guys. So if you're in a situation like me where you can see this case is wallowed out, and this rear differential I had, it's the strip differential you seen earlier. The gears are completely stripped. You can see. So this case, you know, it was pretty much junk. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to use this old differential case, the rear differential. This is going to be my new center differential casing. Alright, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my gears from my center diff. We're going to put them together in here, and then there's one more thing we're going to do. Alright, I don't advise you guys to go buy this and to try this, but you can see this has been sitting around for a while, and this is actually differential fluid for a 4x4 truck. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and put it back together again. We're going to make sure that our shims are right, like we talked about earlier. Then we're going to fill it up with this. Alright, you can see I filled up about a level of the gears, halfway, enough to cover the cross. And like I said, this is the 80 weight. Alright, I found the easiest way to put this back together is to do the top first, and then once you get all this screwed down, you can easily go into the bottom and screw down the differential mounts. This screwing it into the top will hold it all in place for you, so when you flip it, you don't have to worry about trying to hold it. Alright, you guys, here goes our choice of pinions that we're going to be working with this build. Okay, this is the factory 15. This is a 12. This is a 10. This is the 19 that we tried, and this is the 21 that we're going to get to sooner or later. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to focus on this one. We're going to go back to our factory 15 tooth. Alright guys, and I know I said it earlier, but I want to say this one more time because it's really important. Especially if this is your first time trying to work on your shredder and you're trying to change pinions or you're trying to move this motor. Make sure you're using high quality tools. Do not use the cheap Allen wrenches. Do not do that because they will strip, especially in the motor screws and the pinion screws. Whenever you tighten this, you want it to be really tight, and these high quality tools will be able to tighten it down without stripping it. And if you buy a low quality tool, you're going to have to end up replacing these screws because you're going to strip them, and you might lose a pinion or strip the spur gear in the process by this coming loose and moving around, or the motor screws coming loose moving around by you stripping them. So it's very important in the beginning to go ahead and get you, and it doesn't have to be this exact name brand. These are the ones I use, but you need to get some kind of high quality tools to work on your RC card. Alright guys, I got one more thing to mention too also, just in general about the Redcat Shredder. Your springs are going to be adjusted all the way up. So the reason they do this, they just put them on so you can adjust it the way that you want it. So when it comes to your ride height, your springs is what you use to adjust ride height. So when you first get your shredder, you're going to push it down and it's going to want to stay down. And the problem, it's not the fluid. It's not your shock fluid. It's not your shock coil. It's your springs. Alright, you see on these, I have them adjusted almost all the way down as far as it'll go. And I want the front to sit a little lower, but I don't want it to bottom out and stay down. Alright you guys, so it's like 1 in the morning. It's hard for me to drive it and hold the camera, but I'll try. Alright, so the battery's not fully charged, you guys. But one thing I do have noticed, definitely, you know, it's very responsive. It feels very responsive since the changes we made. It feels real level to the ground when it pulls. I got the wing still off from the rear differential swap, but we'll get that back on. But just watch the trigger pull. It's super responsive. Oh, she's about dead now. Yeah, the batteries weren't fully charged, but it's right now. I feel like you guys. I think I differential cracked. No, this might be something else. Alright, so I ran it out to the batteries died on me. Good little batch session. Everything held up good so far. I really like the way it's driving right now. Thought I seen a leak earlier from the fluid on the ground, but everything is clean and dry in there, so I'm pretty sure that was something else. Next major thing that I'm thinking about, you guys, before I try to really get some high speed with it, now that I feel like the differentials are going to be able to hold up, I think maybe tires and definitely this servo, because the faster you go, the slower it turns, you guys. It's definitely not going to be good to go any faster. It's not even safe right now as fast as it goes, so we definitely can't go any faster until we get a better servo. And if you guys have any idea which tires we should go for or which servo, let me know in the comment section. And I guess we're gonna call this one for tonight.